Hi YouTube. Well, I'm back after a good long while. I had made a few videos of my favorite childhood books. I have a collection. Some of these books I had when I was a little girl, and some that I wished that I'd had when I was a little girl. So I've collected them over the years, and they're really special to me. So I'm hoping that I can share these with lots of people. Maybe you had some of these when you were young, or maybe you've never seen them before. So I hope you enjoy this little review. And this one is called Hansel and Gretel, and this is part of a series called My Tiny 3D Book Series. It's really hard to tell from the front of this, and I often try to make the videos pick this up. But one thing that I really always loved about these books was this front picture, and it feels like a piece of vinyl. And when you look at it very closely, it looks like there are layers in the picture. It's kind of like 3D. In the far distance, you can see the candy house, and then you can see Hansel and Gretel. They look like they're a little closer. The closest thing you can see is this tree and the little bushes at the bottom. And if you turn the book left or right, it kind of changes the perspective. And for me, way back when, this was really high tech because we didn't have all of the things, of course, that kids have now. So this was a really big deal way back then. One of the reasons I really like these books too is because every page features puppets. They're not just drawings, and they're not just cartoon pictures. They're actually puppets that have been made and posed, and the background has been created for every page. And I really, really liked that when I was little. And I still love puppets. And so these books were part of my earliest memories of loving puppets and loving storybooks. So I'm going to read through this one, and then we'll talk a little bit about the pages as we go. And this book, of course, is called Hansel and Gretel and their brother and sister. Hansel and Gretel were good little children. Their father, a poor woodcutter, was a kind man, but their stepmother was very mean. One night when Hansel and Gretel were in bed, they heard the father and the mother arguing. "We must get rid of the children," the stepmother was saying. The woodcutter did not want to do this because he loved his children. "Tomorrow we'll take them on a picnic and have them leave them in the forest, or we'll both starve to death." And here's Hansel and Gretel and their poor little bed made of hay. And here's the mean stepmother and their poor father. And these books, you'll notice the pages are like big hard cardboard. The next day was a fine day, and the stepmother prepared a picnic lunch for all. Now Hansel pretended not to know anything about the wicked plan. Gretel felt afraid, but she knew that Hansel would find a way home. So it was that the family had left for the picnic. No one knew that Hansel had stuffed his pockets with small pebbles. He was going to drop them one by one so that he would not be lost. And here's Gretel going over the bridge as they go out to their picnic. When Hansel and Gretel got home safely, following the pebbles that were dropped on the way, the father was very happy to see them, but the stepmother was very angry. The family went on another picnic the next day, and this time Hansel dropped breadcrumbs on the path. Do you know what happened then? The poor children, this time, they could not get home because the birds had eaten the breadcrumbs. What were the poor children to do? They walked and walked till their little feet hurt. When at last night came, little Gretel started to cry. Wouldn't you cry too? She was afraid and hungry and thirsty. Don't cry, little sister, said brave Hansel. We'll somehow find a way home. He was hungry and thirsty, and he was a little bit afraid too, but he pretended to be all right because he was a boy and he wanted to protect his sister. So the two little children spent the night in the forest all by themselves. And here they are in the forest, in the grass, and big trees, and you can imagine how dark that would be at nighttime. Oh my! The next morning they woke up to hear birds singing. When they followed the birds, they came to a candy house. The roof was covered with cookies. The windows were made with drops, and there were even gingerbread men and maidens dancing in front of it. The children started to eat the sweets when an old woman came out and called them in. Come inside, and I will give you plenty to eat. Oh my goodness, look at the house. Look at all the cookies. Look at all the candies. And there's the little gingerbread people. Oh my goodness, they look so happy. Oh no. The witch decided she could not wait any longer. She told Gretel to build a big fire in the oven. Is the fire ready? The old woman said. I can't tell. Come and see for yourself, said Gretel. When the witch came and opened the oven, Gretel pushed her in with all her strength and closed the door. There's the mean witch going into the fire. Oh my goodness, there's Gretel pushing her in. Oh no. Hansel and Gretel were at last free to go home. They found a box of jewels in the witch's house, and they decided to take it home with them. They would not be poor anymore. How glad the woodcutter was to see his two children again. He told them the mean stepmother was dead. They sold the box of jewels and lived happily ever after. There's all the jewels that they found. And look how happy they look. And truly, when you think of it, this is actually a really terrible story. You have witches and witches going into the fireplace and terrible stepmothers and leaving children in the forest. But somehow, I always loved this story. Somehow it just did not seem all that terrible to me. I guess children see things differently. Anyhow, that's my Hansel and Gretel book, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will record another book for us to read together very soon. Thanks.